Hey guys, I got a brand new video for you today, and I'm just going to make this quick video because I got to get on this first. I got to show you guys the new firmware on the X-Pro2. If you own the X-Pro2, it's time to do this because you are going to get the speed of the autofocus from the X-T2 in this little guy. You're not going to get all the same, customizations and stuff like that. The continuous autofocus is still much better on the X-T2, but you're going to get a lot faster, single point focus and continuous AF on this camera. And it gives you a few new features in the flash area because the new EF X500 is coming out. It should have been out, but I don't know why it's not out yet. And if it is out, then you're lucky because I don't think I'll even buy one even when it does come out. But I will probably get one just to try and show you guys what it's like. I don't have any photo shoots planned for the next couple days, so I can't really bring it out into a real world test. But I'll just set up a little scenario and at least see if the single point's a little bit faster. Obviously the continuous AF will be faster, but I probably won't try that until I actually have a job to test it on. So let's get on the computer and I'll stop talking. First thing you need to do is go to the Fuji website. I'll put a link in the description, and then you need to find the firmware and download section. Find X-Pro2. X-Pro1 actually got an update as well today, but download the firmware for the X-Pro2 and just scroll through all this crap and hit I agree and then download. Then you need to take an SD card, put it in your X-Pro2 and format it. Take the card out, put it in your computer. Take the downloaded firmware and just drag and drop it onto the main area of the SD card. Then put the SD card back in the camera and hold the display button down while switching the camera on, and then it'll just walk you through the steps to update the firmware. Takes about 5 minutes and then you're good to go. Alright guys, now the firmware is updated on this. Previously I went and did some tests with the old firmware just to see how fast it was with the 50 to 140 in a controlled environment. I know it's not the same as actually doing a real world thing, but I don't have any jobs right now lined up to test this on, so I'm just going to do this the way it is in a controlled environment. That way I can, have a lot similar results as far as like what it was doing before and what it's doing now. And then I'm going to compare it to the X-T2, but let's just go over some of the new firmware features because I can't go through them all because I don't have the new flash or anything. But apparently the number of focus points have increased to 325 points. Is that true? That's not true. They didn't give us more focus points. That's all sensor stuff. That's a bunch of crap. They can't give us that. Wait. Guys, I'm just finding this out for the first time. It has 325 points. Is that what we had originally? What does the X-T2 have? Doesn't it have 300 and something? This video just got super unprofessional because Christmas morning has come. Guys, so the X-T2 has 325 points autofocus. This camera did not have 325 points. It has 273 autofocus points. 77 of those are phase detect. It had 273 autofocus points before for doing single point selection, and now they've added 325. So that's exactly the same as the X-T2 as far as being able to select your points. It makes it a lot closer to the edge of the frame. If I look at it right now, yeah, you're pretty much right to the edge of the frame. So that's pretty cool. They can do that. I mean, obviously they're not going to all be phase detect. You're still only going to have the, the one group of phase detect. So that's pretty cool. Improved phase detection autofocus, getting the same algorithms as the X-T2. So we'll test that out. We'll just kind of do like a quick comparison back to back to see if the autofocus is pretty similar now. Because I know I haven't made my review yet of the X-T2. I've been working on it. It's a big job. I have so many client jobs right now. It's tough to fit all these videos in while I'm trying to do my own, business so I don't go broke, because YouTube does not pay very well. This is actually a job I'm working on that I shot yesterday. So we've got new AF tracking, continuous tracking. Focus point eye detection has changed to move to the closer eye. Compatibility with the new flash, so the EF X500. When that comes out, you can stick it on this camera. It's going to look really stupid because that flash is huge, but whatever. It's their flash, and that's what they're sticking to right now. So compatibility with that. So the menu's changed a little bit. It's a lot more like the X-T2 as far as being able to set up your TTL stuff. I don't shoot that way. I usually shoot manual, but you're able to change all the settings inside the camera, just like the X-T2. So that's pretty cool. A bunch of other stuff, power saving features and stuff like that. And a bunch of phenomenons they fixed, a bunch of bugs and stuff like that, which I really never had problems with. Rare cases of magnification in the OVF when it doesn't switch appropriately. I don't know, whatever. You guys don't care about that. So let's take a look at the comparison between the X-Pro2 with the old firmware versus the X-Pro2 with the new firmware, and just do something like zone focusing point to point and see how fast the new firmware actually is. I'm going to be using the XF50 to 140 2.8. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to swap this camera out and drop in the X-T2 and see if the autofocus is very comparable as far as speed is concerned. So let's go do that right now. As you can tell, that looks awesome. That's very comparable now. So I don't have any real world tests. I would have loved to have like someone jogging at me or a race car. I mean, you're not going to use this camera for shooting sports still. The autofocus settings on the X-T2 are still way better as far as like being able to customize stuff and the continuous tracking and stuff like that. But why would you want this camera to do that anyway? This is like the sexy like walk around town camera, you know what I'm saying? I'm impressed. This is the first, like, you know, I started with the X-Pro2 with Fuji, and you know, I've loved the system. I got the X-T2. I'm even more in love with the system. I'm getting rid of everything. I'm gonna sell my D500. I'm gonna say it right now. D500 is a great camera. If you love shooting with DSLRs, that's definitely the choice for you. But for me, like, holy crap, being able to get a new firmware, and when they add extra focus points, I mean, you can't add more phase detect autofocus points, but you can add more like locations where you can choose on the sensor. And even then, that seems kind of crazy that they can do that in firmware. But they didn't add 4K video, which is fine. We got 4K video in the X-T2, and you shouldn't be using this camera for video anyway. It's not, you know, it's not really built for it. I'm pretty sure that it would overheat, and that's why they didn't do it. The body's a lot different on this camera. So AF improved, new flash menu settings set up. We didn't get any of the new like continuous customization autofocus settings that you have on X-T2, and it's understandable. They want this camera to be, you know, their sports camera, and that's fine. I get it. I'm impressed. The firmware is awesome. I haven't had time to really test it out in the real world yet, and you know, if it's got issues, you know, sometimes firmware comes flawed. You know, there's like weird glitches and stuff like that. But hopefully, if a firmware is updated the way that firmware should be, all the bugs should be fixed, because to me, that's, you know, that's the whole point of upgrading or updating something, is to fix bugs, not, you know, make things worse. So good on Fuji. If you guys like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you dislike this video, give it 2 thumbs down, and I'll see you in the next one.